everyone, today we are from Group Thunder. We presented about benchmarking. We always heard the words of benchmarking, but do you know what is the benchmarking? Here, I will explain the definition of benchmarking. It is a continuous process of measuring a firm's products, services, or activities against the other best-performing organizations, either internal or external to the firms, with the aim to improve firm's performance. It involves an external focus on the latest developments, best practice, and model examples that can be incorporated within various operations of business organizations. It represents the ideal way of moving forward and achieving high competitive standards. The objective is to ascertain how the processes and activities can be improved and to implement the best practice.
There are 4 types of benchmarking, which are competitive benchmarking, internal benchmarking, process benchmarking, and generic benchmarking. 1. Competitive benchmarking. Compare the results to a competitor. For example, a transport company might benchmark the energy efficiency against a close competitor. 2. Internal benchmarking. This process could be applied in organizations having multiple units, such as companies with sales offices around the country with multiple factory locations within the same country. 3. Process benchmarking. Compare the results to a firm industry with which does not directly to compete. This is often done to compare the results to best-in-class processes and practices. For example, an airline might compare their customer service metric luxury hotel as opposed to other airlines. 4. Generic benchmarking. Generic benchmarking is unrelated industries comparing the performance of similar organizational processes, drive towards setting new standards by improving performance and process use. For example, revenue per employee or return on investment that provide a common basis of comparison independent of industry.
Next, we move to benchmarking steps. 4 phases are involved in the normal benchmarking processes are planning, analysis, integration, and action. And in the 4 phases are 10 practical steps that involve in a benchmarking process. The first is planning phase. This phase comprises of 3 steps. Step 1. Identify opportunities and prioritize. Top management must decide which processes are critical to the success of the company by selecting the projects from that. Once a short list of processes to be benchmarked is ready, the processes need to be prioritized. Step 2. Deciding the benchmarking organization. The next step is to decide the organization whose processes will serve as the benchmark. Several organizations should be selected for study. Information on their processes should be gathered from various sources and the most suitable organization selected. Step 3. Studying the superior process. The preparation for collecting necessary information has to be planned in such a way that either one visit or a proper authentic data collection source can provide all the details within a reasonable time period. The second phase is analysis phase. This phase comprises of 2 steps. Step 4. Finding reasons and devising improved processes. The project team should find out the reasons for better results from the benchmark processes. This has to be done after the information from the best-in-class organization has been collected and analyzed. Based on the analysis, an improved process should be developed. The next step is goal setting for improved processes. These goals can and probably should be stretch goals that will result in a process even better than the other organization's best-in-class process. The third phase is integration phase. This phase also comprises of 2 steps. Next, we move to the step 6, communicate findings and gain acceptance. The proposals for the improved processes should be presented to senior management and the head of the departments to gain approval of the proposed changes. Unless total approval and commitment is secured, there will be hindrance in the implementation of the actions plans. Step 7. Establish new functional goals. When the proposed revisions to the processes are accepted, the acceptance of the revised functional goals is the next big logical step. Last but not least, action phase. This last phase has 3 steps. Now we proceed to step 8, which is develop action plan for implementation. The detailed action plan should carry the important things like a timeline and individuals responsible for carrying out the task. Those responsible should be committed enough to ensure that the tasks and assignments are completed on time. Step 9. Implement specific actions and monitor progress. The senior management must be committed enough to ensure proper coordination of various activities, monitor the progress of implementation of the plan, and work as a barrier remover in the implementation process. When the revised process is in place, a complete report has to be prepared, showing the benefits of the revised process compared with the expectations at the time of approval of the proposed revision of the process. Last step is keep the process continuous. While carrying out the total activities, a mechanism or a system has to be built in to review the performance of the improved process periodically to ensure that the benefits are retained. The process has to be a continuous one and should move at a constant speed and should never be neglected.
Benefits of benchmarking. First, helps organizations understand strengths and weaknesses. Second, helps better satisfy the customer needs by establishing new standards and goals. Third, allows organizations to realize what levels of performance is really possible by looking at others. Next, helps organizations improve their competitive advantage. Lastly, encourage regular monitoring of progress and a process for continuous improvement.
Next, pitfall of benchmarking. A major limitation of benchmarking is that while it helps organizations in measuring the efficiency of their operational metrics, it remains inadequate to measure the overall effectiveness of such metrics. Benchmarking reveals the standard attained by competitors, but does not consider the circumstances under which the competitors attain such standard. One of the disadvantages of benchmarking is the danger of complacency and arrogance. Many organizations tend to relax after excelling beyond competitor standards, allowing complacency to develop. The realization of becoming the industry leaders soon leads to arrogance when considerable scope for further improvements remain. The benchmark should not be done at too high level. Many companies think that one overall corporate benchmark is sufficient. However, larger organizations should be split into logical units to obtain a useful benchmark. Larger differences might give the result that do not reflect reality and draw the wrong conclusion. Benchmarking that focusing more on numbers instead of actions suggests that the measurement may absolutely exact. This is not correct. Benchmarking should only give indicators as to where improvements can be made. Some benchmarking organizations produce huge amounts of numbers but very little useful information. Key numbers should be linked to detailed activities to enable a company to set up concrete action plan. Comparing the pros and cons of benchmarking, the advantages of benchmarking overshadow disadvantages. The 2008 Global Benchmark Network Surveys finds organizations preferring benchmarking over any other performance analysis tools, including SWOT analysis. Most organizations including benchmark as a part of continuous improvement initiatives such as Total Quality Management and Six Sigma. Currently, more than 60% companies in the world use these techniques for fixing their target for continuous improvement. For them, it is an important tool, but to be effective, it must be used properly. Benchmarking is not a substitute for innovation. However, it is a source of ideas from outside the organization.